Tom's Coffee, Cards, and Gifts, Johnson City, New York. Or is it Binghamton? They cross over right there. Oh, shoot. Well, something just hit me today that I figured I'd do a little talk on customer expectations, service managers as well. Why? Because they're similar. Ends up being the same problem. People need to write things down. People need to pay attention. I had one today. Well, actually two today that are indicative of something that, well, people want something for nothing. One of them is a skid steer that I'm working on. The customer has changed their mind 4 or 5 times. It has an electronic panel in it, New Holland skid steer. And then when you sit in the seat, it turns things on. Well, it turns things on indirectly. It goes up to the panel and it triggers a relay. Relay turns on, sends power to the key switch so you can start it. You're in the seat, you can start it. Some of the New Holland machines will have a key switch. You can turn it on. Well, this one, you can sit in the seat, start the machine up, put the seat belt on, unlatches the hydraulics. Now you're go. Well, it does it from up top. I can bypass that safely. Yeah. I can wire the start circuit for the seat and wire the electronics to the seat belt. Or if the customer wants, I'm not a dealer this, I'm just a neighbor down the road, I can bypass it completely so they get in there, turn the key on, boom, everything's on. I can do that. Takes some farting around, but the wiring harness is mouse chewed. I have to change it anyway to repair it. So if I have to repair it, why not? I want the original panel. Okay, I don't want to pay that much money. All right, then I can bypass the system, put a couple gauges in, you'll be good. What do you mean? So I can put a water temperature gauge in, oil pressure gauge in, and a voltmeter. Tell you whether it's charging, you have oil pressure, etc. I said later on we can add more gauges to it. But I said let's start there. I must have been successful. Hobie went out, he can't get out. So, Hobie's our little dog that likes to jump ship, go looking for Debbie now and then. Good boy, Hobie. Well, anyway, it's like, okay, well, we'll do that just so you can get the skid steer moving. Sure, I can get it moving. You can use it for a while, and then later on, we'll get a panel and plug it back in. Your wiring harness will be fixed. Everything will be operational. And if you want to sell it or do whatever later, buy a panel then, or buy a panel down another month away from now. You know, I can get it moving. It'll take me a while, fumbling around, but still, I have to repair the wiring harness anyway. They chewed in like half a dozen different spots. And there might be more places they chewed I couldn't see. I couldn't get her to understand this. Got all excited when she cleaned the barn out once the thing moved into the barn. Well, if we aren't going to make up our mind how I'm going to hook this up, I'm not going to fool around with it. Because I won't get paid. So I just stopped. Called somebody and said, here, call her and give her an idea of the cost of the panel. That's all I can do. I've done this before. I've done the research 3 times. What's this have to do with expectations? Service managers are very similar. They sit there behind their desk and try to act. They're not acting like the customer, which makes it worse. They're not even thinking in the customer's terms of what can we do to satisfy the customer. 99.9% of all service managers are over here thinking similar thoughts, but for CYA, cover your anatomy, that's it. They don't care. They want the job done quick. They want it so the customer ain't screaming. And they want the thing out the door, and they don't care as long as it lasts 31 days. Or 61 days, or 91 days, depending on what you have. And anymore, it's barely 31 days. Something happens after at 31, it's over. And 31 is 1 second after midnight, day 30. But still, that's all legit. And then I've had 60-day calls when I tell them, I got it patched up, it's going to work for a while. Okay. And then it fails. They come back. The service manager comes back. You embarrassed us. It didn't work. It didn't. So what do you mean it didn't work? They got 3 months out of it, 6 months, 1 month, 2 months, whatever the expected time frame was that they needed. In some cases, let me finish this job. Okay, patch it together. They finish the job. The machine's a mess. We got to finish it later. And they'll be coming back at you screaming like the customer. Why? Well, they're going to come down from the top and they're going to come out. It's like, shut up, you moron. Find another job. Seriously. If you're that kind of service manager, find another job. They say, well, they like me. I said, yeah, because you're a lying schmoozer. There's no other way to describe it. If the customer acts like that, they're paying the money. It's no better, but they're paying the money. Then you have to make your decisions from that. But if you're just going to be a whiny service manager, like a lot of them are, the exact same principle can be in place. I had a perfect example. I told the customer what we were running for. I told him I found a code. Really? You found a code? I said, yeah. I plugged into your John Deere system over here. You did? Yeah. I had this little doodad, little bitty Nexic Blue Mini, plugged it in, went onto my phone, logged into the machine. I got a code. The code says, I am the pump. I have an internal failure. Please replace me. I found out later on that it might have been possible to go around that, but the machine had quite a few hours on it. And for a John Deere engine, 4045, it was up there, and it's just, he says, I like the idea of putting a pump on. I said, well, so do I. But, he said, what but? I said, these filters over here are known to have problems, and you have original fuel lines, right? And he said, well, yeah. I said, well, with some of the new fuels, new fuel additives and such, it can run into a lot of trouble. Well, he says, go for it, because we have had a lot of trouble with this lately. It's been able to operate, so we kept going, but no. So I went through the fuel system, resealed things, new filters, new hoses, new fittings, in one case, a new filter head, a rebuilt filter head, fired it up, and he said, boy, it runs a lot better, but it's still crapping out on me. So there we were. Then he made the phone call in and says, all right, you can come out and do it now. So and I got the service manager howling and howling and howling. It broke down. It went again. I'll get it right up there. And then the woman, the wife, was calling in and said, no, I could hear her on the phone. Stop it. You don't understand. So what do you mean? I'm supposed to call in so you can replace the pump. Well, he must have done something wrong if you have to replace. No, I heard her yelling. No, we planned this. He got off the phone. He starts on me, and I said, I'm howling at him. I mean, literally. Guy was in the seat of the service manager. I said, are you too stupid to listen? And finally he gets off holds the phone back and said, what? I said, she's supposed to call at a certain time to tell us that it is definitely the pump. I fixed the fuel system so we could rule out the pump. She's hollering on the phone, yes, it runs better, but we still need the pump. That's why I'm calling. We just need you to put a pump on. That's all. So nothing's wrong. She says, no, nothing's wrong. We planned this. If the service manager had listened to the customer, listened to the tech, and even more than that, call up on the computer while he's talking to the customer, the work order, they had it written on there, customer will run unit and call if it needs an injection pump. It can't get any simpler than that. But we run into this time and time again where either one side or the other doesn't listen, and some stinking technician is sitting there pulling his hair out, trying to get people to understand, and finally it's just you back off, you walk away. What do you want? What do you mean? What do you want? I'm trying to find out from you. I'm not telling you anymore. I'm not requesting anymore. I'm not even recommending anymore. Done. And you said, well, yeah, but I need to know. No, you don't. Not if you're going to do that. You make the decision with the customer, and I'll do what you want. What do you end up? You end up with a broken chain. And the problem is yours. Now, on the customer side, same thing. You end up with a broken chain. If the customer can't make up their mind what they're doing, then the tech doesn't know what to tell the service manager, and now the service manager is all of a sudden jackassing around. Well, what in the world are they going to do? Call them. Well, they don't want to call them because the customer can't make their mind up. And guess who's stuck in between? Why? Because the chain is the customer calls the tech figures it out, comes back, explains it, comes up with a plan, talks to the service manager and such goes to the parts back, and it goes back and forth through the chain, and the service manager who is up here and the tech that's down here gets bashed by all three. And they can't figure out why they're writing techs up and losing techs that don't want to put up with it and crying for new technicians every year for more, because they're getting bashed. And they're crying for more service managers. Why? Because they're getting bashed. And worse, on top of that, it's getting bashed up here at the regional service manager level. And it's total lack of communication. And if I may say so, I haven't found a single service manager in the entire world that will stop being a total jackass enough to open up on the computer a work order and read it. Ever. Ever. Even working in construction in a maintenance shop where they need to know that before they start barking at the guy that did the last job. Just come out screaming. It broke down again. And 90% of the time, of course it broke down again. They wanted it patched. It's patched. We need it fixed better. No, they didn't. I want it fixed better. They don't. And then you end up with the CFO involved and the site managers, and it turns into a disaster because people are making suppositions. Well, it looks like Hobie might have gone on his rant and his run. I'm going to have to go out and find him. You folks have a good day, and that's the planning for today. That's what I'm into, is just to give you information that write things down, read things that you put down, and maybe you didn't handwrite it, you just put it right direct in the computer. Have some notes and read them later. 99% of all the malfunctions I've had in the last 43 years have all been from managers, customers, and other, in fact, less from customers. Managers in the system, parts, service, or even branch managers, or above them even, that will not read work orders. Well, the excuse is the same every time. The work order could be written as a lie. Well, then read it anyway, and then ask the guy, and then you know if it's a lie or not. That's how interesting that can be. Then you find out something about your techs as well. Speaking as a former tech, and as a former business owner, and as a former minor employer, communication. And I know half of the tech world also is playing CYA because they know their managers are playing CYA. So they will lie on their work orders because they have to. That's what they've been led to do by their service managers and their managers. In a few rare cases, the customers. They have to write it up to cover themselves because the customer has an expectation of patch it together, and the customer is going to demand later that you screwed it up. I don't want to have to pay for this. I want the full bogey now. And you pay for it. I'm telling you. In that 2023 Service Edition.